Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, this series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Trooper Uno. He says, LevelCap, while deployed overseas, I would see the Special Forces guy walk around with some awesome gear and weapons. How about try a true Special Forces loadout? M416, infrared night vision sight, M320 with smoke, suppressor on the weapon, and then as a sidearm, M1911 S-TAC. I saw a lot of this kind of stuff downrange. Play on Tehran Highway for tactical advantage of darkness. Use the smoke for tactical movement and to break contact. If necessary, use the IRNV for good target acquisition. The suppressor for tactical advantage. Thanks. Now I remember a time way back in the day when Battlefield 3 was still a new game where the IRNV sight was just ridiculously good. In fact, it was what many people would say overpowered. I used it a lot back in the early stages of the game because it just made it too darn easy to spot out your enemies. The problem was that it was so good that everybody would use it, and then all of a sudden we're playing a game that just looks green and we don't really get to appreciate all the awesome graphical elements of the game because we're always just looking down a green sight. In response to this, DICE decided to balance out the IRNV sight by reducing its effective range, at which it basically pops bad guys out from the background. Now, this is actually map specific. It's not an overall setting, and you'll notice when you play on maps like Operation Metro, it's been reduced significantly, which is kind of funny because Operation Metro gets to be one of the darker maps when you're actually in the subway, so you would think it would be one of the more useful sites for actually being in the subway, but it ends up being much more effective on maps like Sen Crossing here because there's lots of little areas where people can hide, and the range is still very good on it. Now, the big drawback of using this sight is that when you aim down sights, you actually don't have any sort of peripheral vision. You just have the little circle in the center of your screen, so that's all you can see. That's a big disadvantage compared to other sights out there, but considering that you're basically illuminating people, which is especially helpful for dark windows and foliage, it really is a good trade-off. And you'll notice in my gameplay here that I sort of use the sight to scan the environment real quickly because your eye won't pick up on a lot of soldiers if they just happen to be hiding in a bush or just off in the distance. Aiming down sight will immediately pop people out from the background and let you know what your immediate threats are. It reminds me a lot of playing the Metroid games where you could activate your scanner system and you would look around the exact same environment, but things that you should be aware of would highlight in your vision, and it's sort of the same effect just with soldiers. I noticed that my gameplay actually changes up a bit while playing with this sight because it does reduce my peripheral vision. I have to make sure that I pie and peek corners very carefully, so I tend to play a little bit slower while using the IRNV sight. It's also not very good for close range target acquisition, so if you need to aim down sights in closer or close to medium range, it can be a little bit tricky to do that quickly as opposed to using something like a red dot sight. So I try and make sure that my engagement distances are metered and that I have control over each situation and nobody's going to sort of surprise me. So it makes me play a little bit more carefully, a little bit more slower paced, and ultimately it actually ends up helping me out quite a bit. Now, the speed of your gameplay generally should be dependent on the server you're playing in, what kind of map it is, how many players are on the map. If you're playing in a close quarter domination map, then you probably don't want this sight on there because you're going to need to be playing extremely fast paced. In those maps, if you take your time cornering and peeking around, it's usually enough time to let somebody sneak up behind you, so you can't really take your time. But in a map where you feel like you can tactically move around the environment, not feel like you have to be bunny hopping around everywhere, then this sight will actually work out pretty well. Now, the 416 definitely is a popular weapon among sort of the elite forces in the military. Special Forces, I'm sure, uses this weapon. It was the gun that was actually used in the raid on Osama bin Laden's house. I believe most of the soldiers were carrying 416s. Having a suppressor attached to this weapon seems like it would make a lot of sense if you were going to be doing covert missions. You don't want to be detected, reducing the noise of the weapon. You know, you can infiltrate buildings and not necessarily alert the whole neighborhood to a firefight if you need to use your gun. Now in Battlefield, the M416 is actually a great weapon. It didn't always used to be a good weapon. In fact, there was very little point to use it at one point because the M16 actually had better stats all around. But recently DICE has addressed that issue, and they've upgraded the M416 to have great accuracy, very low recoil, and so it actually offers some benefits over the M16. Now it does fire a little bit slower than the M16, coming in at 750 rounds per minute as opposed to the 800 rounds of the M16, but it's still plenty of rounds per minute to actually dish out enough damage to drop most opponents. And although that rate of fire could be a little bit tricky in close quarters, one thing to make up for that is the reload speed on this weapon, clocking in at 1.75 seconds for the short reload and 2.5 seconds for the long reload. This gives this gun the fastest short reload out of any assault rifle in the game, so it's going to be absolutely perfect for dropping an opponent in close quarters, reloading the gun, and re-engaging. Now in my opinion, the M416 does best at medium to long range engagements, and attaching a suppressor on this weapon is going to reduce its effectiveness in that area. It will help control some of the recoil of this gun, although it doesn't have much to begin with, but it's just going to lower the bullet velocity, which in effect lowers your damage at range as well. So it's going to take a gun that's otherwise amazingly good at long range and make it a little bit less effective at long range, but it will keep you off the minimap. Having an underbarrel smoke grenade launcher, although it makes the gun look just crazy and cool and just completely decked out with tons of gear, it's only effective, in my opinion, for specific game modes. I think Rush is one of those team deathmatch game modes where there are definitely lanes where people can push up in areas where the enemy's holding off. Probably not so effective in the more chaotic team deathmatch maps. But it is a very effective tool for taking ground and really working together with your team. I've seen many times on games of Rush on, say, Operation Metro, where it seems to be a stalemate. All of a sudden, just one or two people spawn in with smoke grenade launchers, start smoking up the area, and giving the attacking team a much better chance of breaking through and actually turning the tides. So it's great for those situations. But in just the standard sort of team deathmatch or your average game scenario, I would much rather have a med pack to just help me in all those firefights. I love throwing med packs down at just any corner that I'm using for cover or any place where I think there's about to be a firefight. Having that med pack already there and ready to heal me if I take any damage at all has just been so incredibly helpful. Now here I am finally on Tehran Highway. Honestly, it's really hard to find games on Tehran Highway that are populated. Took me a while of playing before I found a good populated server, and our team was totally being spawn camped the whole time. This is one of the few times I was actually able to break through the spawn camp, try and get back behind them and do some back rage, and the suppressor was absolutely perfect for that. As you'll notice here, most of the enemies I come across just are not expecting me at all, and that's because I'm just suppressed, staying off the minimap. Each target I take down is not pinpointing me on the minimap. The only thing that the enemies would have to be able to locate me is looking at the dead body markers on the map and trying to figure out, oh, it looks like maybe somebody's back in behind us taking out the targets. I think it's a shame that Tehran Highway isn't more popular. I think its fatal flaw is that it's very easy to spawn camp either side, so you often get situations where you just kind of hang out in your base and snipe for a while and you don't really get to do a lot of objective-based gameplay. That being said, I hope there's a lot more nighttime maps come Battlefield 4. Really looking forward to seeing what that engine can do with some nighttime environments. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Loadout. Remember to leave your comments down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with. I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.